Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we've got something super cool to check out as we have a brand new Marco Makes dinosaur here to take a look at. But what's cool about this isn't a Jurassic Park dinosaur, and you don't see that too often from Marco, unless it's like, Prehistoric Planet dinosaurs. But this is just basically an accurate T-Rex that he had created, and it's a very small size compared to most of his stuff, and I think it is absolutely phenomenal. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite Marco Makes dinosaur figures that I have seen come from him yet. This one I painted up, so hopefully the paintwork looks okay. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it turned out quite nice. And again, the sculpt, of course, is so good that the figure practically paints itself. So I'm going to go ahead, readjust the camera, and we'll bring it in for a closer look. So starting up here in the head sculpt of our T-Rex, you can see some beautiful fine detail. Might be a little easier to see it over here. There is some beautiful scale detail, and you can see larger scales as you get closer to the jawline, looking really good. We can also see the nostrils sculpted out here on the front of the snout. We also have an open mouth for the T-Rex, and inside we have a tongue that my camera does not want to focus on no matter what I do, but you've got a tongue in there and some pretty decent detail, of course, throughout the inside of the mouth, as you would expect. And again, making the model look very lifelike, very highly detailed overall. And again, the open mouth visual, of course, is something you're going to want to see for a nice menacing T-Rex. But the eye area as well is sculpted quite beautifully, and again, that head sculpt is a thing of beauty. It is definitely one of the nicest looking T-Rex head sculpts that I have seen. As we move back into the body, and you start to pick up a little bit of a different looking skin texture, you pick up some osteoderms that continue to move down through the course of the body. We do have the head turning toward the left a little bit, so we see a little bit of creasing in the skin right there, but again, the scale detail continues to look really nice as you move down through the body, and again, those osteoderms follow along the spinal column, as well as a row that kind of follows along the side of the spinal column. Leading down, we have a big bulky T-Rex body here, like you would expect to see. Pretty much how we view Tyrannosaurus nowadays. Leading into the arms are held into the body in a really nice natural position. We can also see the skin texture on the underside looking really good. The claws also have a nice genuine sharp look to them, which is of course a plus. Leading back, some more impressive skin texture and scale detail all throughout the stomach. You can even get a light sense of the rib cage right there. And what's cool about this that Marco did that I really like is he's added in injuries and scars, and you'll see them just periodically pop up, like you can see up here on the top of the body, and I have painted them out in numerous different ways. Some scars I've just completely neglected to paint because I feel like it makes it look like it's a very old injury that has just kind of like moved back into the body and you don't notice it other than the divot in the skin. But then some areas like I've given like fresh injuries to, and I've also painted out some of the scars with like not super fresh, but kind of looking like it's an injury that's healing. So you may notice that stuff as we move through. Again, just little areas of difference when it comes to the different injuries and scars on the model. But that's pretty much exactly what you would expect for a T-Rex. You're definitely going to expect it to have, received some injuries over its lifetime. So I think he did a great job when it comes to that aspect. But as you lead back, again, on top of seeing the spinal column there moving along the back, we can see the hip bone right there. We also have a really large thigh moving down. Of course, it's a T-Rex. It's going to have really muscular legs. We can see the musculature displayed in the legs all the way down into the calf. We have the kneecap right there in the front of the leg. And a gorgeous foot sculpt as you move down into the foot. You've got some scoots down the toes, some very nice sharp-looking claws, and of course, if you look over there on the other side, you can see the dew claw as well has been, of course, sculpted out. And then we lead back up, and as we lead into the tail, you can kind of see how the skin is kind of reacting all throughout the back of the thigh up into the tail because of the positioning of the leg. But as we lead out into the tail, I tried to just create kind of like a nice little striping effect moving out so that it has, a little bit of flashiness because it's not too flashy overall. But we again have the injuries right there on the tail, and I did give them a nice gloss coat to make them look like they are, fresh. And you have a nice curve to the tail as you lead out, especially when you look at it from out here. You can really get a nice feel and a sense for how beautiful the curvature is there of the tail is. When you look at it from over here on the opposing side, obviously the head turns away from us now, so it's not like, You're going to see creasing and everything over here. You can see skin stretching more so than creasing. The arm is in pretty much the same position over here. The biggest difference over here is the leg taking a step forward. Again, we've got another fresh injury right there. You'll see some scars popping up here and there. There's an old scar that I kind of actually, it's not that old. I tried to make this look like a recent injury, but not all that recent, so it's kind of faded and everything and starting to heal. But as you move down into the foot sculpt, you again can see how beautiful that foot sculpt looks and how vibrant the print quality is from Marco. And now I don't know, also, look at how good the musculature looks the entire way up and down the leg. But I don't know for sure when Marco is going to start selling these again. These were available for sale for a little while, but then like the tariff situation happened and everything is messed up currently, but I'm hoping that these are going to come back at some point in the very near future. But as you lead out again into the tail, you do still have those really beautiful curvatures to the tail. But that is absolutely one of my favorite Marco Makes figures that he has ever sculpted. I think it is just an overall beast of a Tyrannosaurus in a nice, compact, small size. As far as a size goes, for a length from the snout to the tail, you're looking at about 6.5 inches or 16.5 centimeters. And then for a height, about 2.5 inches, maybe a hair over, or around 6.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Marco Makes Tyrannosaurus. And as you can see, this figure is definitely on the smaller side, and that's definitely a good thing in my opinion, because although I would love to have a larger version of this, or even a 1/35th scale version, at the very least, it is nice to have such a gorgeous and accurate Tyrannosaurus out in a smaller size like this. That's definitely a great looking figure to have in a smaller compact size, so you can, fit a super nice, really accurate T-Rex into your collection pretty much anywhere without taking up too much room. And with this one, I don't feel like we really need tons of comparisons or anything, and especially considering it is at a smaller size, so it's not really going to compare that well with many other figures that are out. But here we have a Mattel Velociraptor just stepping in for one more comparison to kind of give you an idea of the fact that, again, this one is a bit on the smaller side, but it is by no means a minifigure. So not huge, but definitely not super tiny. So this Marco Makes accurate Tyrannosaurus Rex is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. It is by far one of my favorite T-Rex sculpts out on the market anywhere, especially when it comes to a more updated version. I think he knocked this out of the park in a big way. And of course, not only that, shows you that Marco is just so talented. Like, he can't just sculpt certain types of dinosaurs. Like, he's not strictly a Jurassic Park sculptor. He can create very nice, very impressive, highly accurate dinosaur models like this T-Rex. And again, the type of stuff that companies should honestly be begging him to sculpt for them. So obviously this T-Rex, like I said, one of the best on the market anywhere. The sculpt is extremely well done. The fine detail is extremely well done. Hopefully my paint work didn't, kind of like drown out his fine detail, and you were able to pick up on just how good and highly detailed the sculpt is as a whole. I've been debating on whether or not I should go back to reviewing these unpainted and then paint them and then continue on from there. I've just kind of been painting models lately and then reviewing them, but I feel like when I do that, sometimes it doesn't really give you a good appreciation for how nice the fine detail is. But again, this one, absolutely fantastic from head to tail when it comes to both the sculpt and the pose. As I already mentioned, the paintwork was done by me, so it's up to you guys, I guess, if you like it or not. I think it turned out pretty nice, and definitely a decent, fairly realistic looking color scheme for a Tyrannosaurus. But again, the model being so highly detailed just makes it so much easier to paint and make it look incredible. But if you are interested, I will include a link in the description too where you can purchase Marco Makes models. As I said, with the tariff situation and everything going on right now, I don't know for sure when this will be available, or, if it is still available. I'm not entirely sure on that either. But I do remember Marco stating that he wasn't sure what was going to be going on with that. So as of right now, my recommendation for you is to head on over to Marco's Etsy shop, see what he's got available. And if this is in fact there, definitely pick it up because it's gorgeous. And like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.